Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Broad YouTube channel with another episode of The Rest. I'm your host, Iris Namatakos, and I'm joined by Nathan once again. Mate, how you going?
Not too bad, Ari. Yourself?
Not too bad, but slightly down on the morale after today's result. We're filming this on Monday, and Collingwood scraping into the 8 to finish round 13 isn't the best end to the round. I'll put it that way, I guess.
Yeah, well, look, is what it is. But in all honesty, a good Collingwood team makes for a good competition and
Correct.
keeps the buzz and excitement up.
Yeah, I'd rather Collingwood than a Gold Coast. Put it that way. No, with all due respect to Gold Coast, but
Yeah.
let's just crack in and let's start with the football story of the round and potentially the season, and something that really blew up in the media this week. And we are obviously, of course, talking about Bailey Smith. Now, we don't really have to speak about what happened. We all know, unless you've been living under a rock. But what were your initial thoughts or your initial reaction when the news broke and everything came out?
I mean, it wasn't a surprise, and this is nothing on Bailey Smith. I'm sure this happens with so many players in an off season. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens during the season as well. He got caught, and simply because of who he is and the fame he's built up over these couple past years. Well,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to look 10 times worse on him, and I guess the antics he did post grand final sort of add to why this has been talked about so much. I don't think it's really something that should be frowned upon, I guess,
I
considering
mean,
he's, I don't know. Like I said,
yeah,
I just think with so many players who've done it in the past that we probably don't know of.
yeah. I feel like we have to condone the drug taking aspect under any
Yeah.
circumstance. Obviously, I mean that should go without saying. However, yeah. So there's that, but the reaction to it has been slightly surprising in my view and slightly disappointing as well, because he's 21 years old. I think he's not that much older than us, right? So
Yeah.
it was kind of like he's done it. He got caught. I'm pretty sure it could have been any other player from any other club, from our club, from plenty. Like if there was a club where this didn't happen, I'd be very shocked. Put it that way. But we obviously condone the use of drugs and the manner in which it has been or leaked, if you were to call it that, or released to the media was quite shocking. Because, funnily enough, the night before it dropped or it got leaked, I watched the Ben Cousins documentary, the Such Is Life documentary. So I went to bed with that, and I woke up to the news of Bailey Smith, which was quite ironic in a sense. But yeah, like you said, you touched on it briefly. Do you think that this has been blown up more than what it should be, considering it was out of competition and considering it was there was some circumstances around it?
Well, 100%. But I think, well, originally when I saw it, I thought it was like recent. I mean, it
Same.
wasn't until like a couple of hours later I saw release December 2021 or whenever it was. But I thought it was like as of the weekend, which was originally why I was like, oh, well, that's pathetic. Like
Yeah, you can't do that.
professionalism is just, that's out the window. But seeing when it was, and I remember back at that time, like he was all over the socials, like TikTok, everything, people bombarding him. Like
Yeah,
seriously, people were all over him. And I think they were in Perth for a couple of days, not sure, a couple of days,
I
weeks
think
after that grand final.
I think it was in Queensland where that infamous night or those photos
Yeah,
were taken.
wherever
Yeah,
they were, it was like he was getting bombarded. And I guess that's can have a toll on players, especially when you're trying to relax. You want to move into an off season, but it's
yeah,
still an on season for supporters in a sense. But no, yeah,
es-
definitely blown out of proportion.
yeah. Especially when you're Bailey Smith, and I think people our age understand how big Bailey Smith is. Potentially, people older who aren't in the social media realm, Bailey Smith is the closest thing to a. I mean, he's been compared to Tony Mondro in terms of his profile in the media, and trust me, that's not far off. People who don't like footy, people who don't like sport, know who Bailey Smith is. There's something about him, like he's a rock star. If you were to compare it to like the closest thing to a rock star footy has. Um, so he can't walk down the street without him getting mauled by people of all ages, put it that way. So, however, so with all that said, however, Nathan, like I said, I wanted to touch on something, and you know exactly what I'm going to touch on. There has been some reaction to it over Twitter, especially, and despite Twitter being a fictional place with seemingly a bunch of fictional people, it seems that they're not real at times. But there has been some people maybe pot shotting at him, and I mean abuse is a strong word to use, but it certainly wouldn't be far off about Bailey Smith's use of the mental health card, as people have coined it. Now, Bailey Smith has obviously been very public about his struggles with mental health, both pre this occurring and after it was released to the media, of course. We all know he took that break from football pre-season this year because of mental health. And this being blown, like this being said, has been very disappointing from my lens, because put it this way, when you suffer from a mental health problem, or when you suffer from any sort of mental health problem, you don't think like you normally would. And this is speaking from personal experience and also experiences with people that I know. You don't think you don't think what you normally would. You don't act in a way that you normally would, because you're in a very vulnerable position where your priorities and your cares and the person you are has completely changed. And in order to maybe relieve that, you need to find an escape from that. You need to find an escape from pain. And for some people, that's drinking. For some people, it's smoking. Others, it's drugs, whatever it may be. And Bailey Smith's escape was what we obviously have come to find. Now, when you're that low, and can I just preface this by saying what he did was wrong. There is no way of spinning this which justifies or makes Bailey Smith's actions correct. However, when you're in a bad place and when you're that low, you don't care about anything. You don't care about your health. You don't care about other people. You don't care about people you love, and you don't care about you live in a very careless world, and you feel that worthless that things don't matter. Repercussions don't matter. Respect doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. Like you said, he struggled with mental health after the post grand final. Obviously, a heavy defeat, a lot of pressure on him and his Bulldogs side to get the job done. For those people that are saying he's using the mental health card, I just want to explain this. When you say that, you are massively downplaying the effect that mental health has on people, mental health problems rather, as well as making those suffering from mental health problems slightly less allowed or slightly less willing to speak out about it, because they're going to be tarnished with the same mental health card brush for whatever reason, for whatever they've done. Now, Nathan, our age, and obviously Bailey Smith is not much older than us. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death for men our age, and yet we still downplay the effect that mental health has on the ability for someone not to think rationally, to not think like they normally would, thus making these decisions. He's been open about how much he's been hurting during that time. He's been open about everything that's gone wrong, and yet the Australian public and the footy public are insistent on kicking him while he's down and pushing him into a further hole than he already is. Not because he's a footy player, not because he's famous, not because he has this massive brand around him. We need to support Bailey Smith in this time because he's a human being. Whether it was me, you, anyone, a coach, partner, cousin, brother, sister, mum, dad, co-worker, colleague, whatever. When a person is going through a low period, you support them. Not because he's famous, not because he's a footy player, because he's a human being. And some people think that because these people can kick a ball and because these people were elite sportsmen, that they are perhaps invincible in a sense and they're bulletproof, when that's quite clearly not the case. He's a human being going through a very, very low period in his life. we need to support him instead of kicking him while he's down, which a lot of people have been doing. I just saw that and I was really, really disappointed because we need to be better. We need to be better. Yeah, they're just my 2 cents. I saw that over the last couple of days, and it got me really upset, annoyed, frustrated. And I thought it's 2022. We got to be better. So yeah, they're my 2 cents, Nathan.
Mate, I mean, I can't back that up. But I mean, you're spot on with a lot. With everything you've said. That's the problem with social media these days. Is that people can literally communicate with each other in the worst ways without showing their face. You're free to say whatever you want, and I think that's a big issue because people become really toxic having that freedom of just hiding behind the screen and don't really understand issues. They just believe they do, and they put them out to a public forum. And I guess so much debate online, I don't know. I think people just get sucked in to what they read. And I guess being Bailey Smith, I mean, okay, big player, bad thing. There's no good about it. Which there wasn't. Like we said, it wasn't anything good about what he did.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating that, I don't know. I just think we're in a cycle where the same response is like just bound to happen when something like this happens.
We're not going to be able to take it seriously if people keep saying that people are faking mental health problems, because he was open about it. He put his yes, you could say because he got caught, but he's been open about it before. And when, like you said, with social media, I know a lot of people don't like it, and sometimes with Twitter, I just need to get rid of it because it's a toxic place full of a lot of toxic people at times. But it is a microcosm of what's wrong with society today, right? People don't want to speak, or people feel like they can speak without criticism or speak without consequence. And yeah, it is this vicious cycle which we keep going through and not seem to be getting out of anytime soon, which is very disappointing.
Well, I mean, do you think he should be punished pretty harshly for what he's done by the AFL? I mean, this is just moving solely onto the football side of it. Yeah. What are the repercussions for something of this, something this bad?
There needs to be repercussions, no doubt. But I also think the repercussions need to involve support. You can't just throw him to the wolves and expect him to come back in a year, 2 years, a month, 3 months time and expect him to be better or to have none of these problems ever occur again. Like I said, I watched the Ben Cousins documentary and the night before this all came out, and we saw what the lack of support for him did. We just repercussions or consequences. I feel like he does need to be punished. People are saying, I don't actually know what the course is or what the AFL's policy is. Is it? Do you know more about this than I do? I'm hearing 2 weeks. I've
heard 2 weeks. Yeah.
I've heard 2 weeks as well. So if it's 2 weeks, that should be served after his 2-week suspension for the headbutt, of course. But he should spend some time on the sidelines, of course, because what he did was wrong, and you need to punish actions before anything else. But we also need to support him. I think that's the main thing that's come out of this for me.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much more to add to it.
Yeah, I think let's move on and let's get on to some slightly lighter stuff. And we mentioned it from the top of the show: Queen's birthday clash, Collingwood, Melbourne. We spoke last week about Melbourne. Was this a blip in the road? Obviously, they lost to the Dockers and the Swans the previous 2 weeks. They had fallen to the Pies. What's the story down at the Demons? Is it a blip in the road, or is their reputation as the undisputed best team in the comp slowly petering away? They aren't top of the league or top of the table outright anymore. There's 3 teams all on 40 points. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, look, I was the one out of us 2 yesterday. I was sort of like, oh yeah, they'll bounce back. And now watching today, I was like, oh, okay, maybe teams really have properly figured them out enough where Melbourne won't do enough in just 1 or 2 quarters to win the game. They really have to play 4 quarters, and I think Collingwood showed that if you bring it to them for just even 60-70% of the game, you probably would have enough to overrun them. And I think if Collingwood were even accurate early in that contest, I reckon that game would have
Yeah.
probably been out of reach for Melbourne quite early, but poor kicking sort of let Melbourne get ahead. Now I feel like I'm a bit worried, but it's like such a week by week thing where they could, I don't know
Yeah.
who they play next, but they could win the next game by 50 points, and we're like, oh, yeah,
They're
okay,
back. Yeah.
they're,
I
they're
mean,
back. So it's weird.
yeah. I mean, there has been the maybe not the storyline, but the formula in a sense of beating Melbourne. It's at that high pressure, high just intensity game to knock them off their perch, knock them off that comfortable nature which they seem to be playing their footy, especially in the early couple of rounds. In their next, so they've got the bye next week, and then they host the Lions at the MCG.
There you go.
That is
That's
that
big.
is massive because if they lose that, that's 4 on the trot, and then all of a sudden it is a sense of all right, where does it go from here? Because I feel like they have the ability to. I think they have the ability to just find their form again. And obviously, what's happened in the last couple of weeks with obviously Stephen May and Jake Melcham hasn't helped. But I do feel like they're strong enough mentally to find their form back. But if there's any team that you don't want to verse, it's Brisbane. I feel like they're one of the more informed teams in the comp, them and Freo, in my opinion.
Yeah, they definitely are. The one thing with Brisbane, I think, is actually probably one of the better teams for them to play, purely because Brisbane don't do very well in the MCG, much wider ground than they're used to
Yeah.
compared to the Gabba. So I think if there's a game that they could bounce back from, I would much rather Brisbane. I mean, 2 weeks after that, they have Geelong in Geelong. So, like, it could be worse for Melbourne, I think. I think this week off is really important for them, and I think it's exactly what they need in a sense.
Yeah. The buyers come at the perfect time for them.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just look ahead. Do you say them winning the minor premiership from here? Or is it because it is a seemingly 3-horse race, but you obviously have us. I'm going to throw Carlton in there. You have Geelong, St Kilda, Sydney, all fighting for that top 4 place. And if Carlton beat Richmond on Thursday night, they will be equal on points with Melbourne at the top of the table. So it is really up for grabs.
What a sentence though. Like
I know.
that's
Jesus.
I don't want to talk about it because if we, I'm one of those you talk about it, it won't happen. So I'm glad it's a scenario. I'll put it that way. But
yeah,
it's hard. I just think I think it will come down to the last 2 rounds, or even the last round. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I think they've dropped it now that they're equal.
it's anyone's game.
It's anyone's game. So if they were a game ahead at this point, I would still say they probably would. But if you're equal with, I think that's 9 games to go. You never know. I mean, you think about it, Collingwood are 2 games off first now. I think
there might be 3.
3.
No, they possibly. are 2 games.
2 off games. Top. So like, it's very close. But
yes, it's very close for top 4 and for top 8. What was your point going to be just then?
No, I'm sort of thinking about it. Maybe it's more interesting than what we're sort of thinking, because I sort of thought that it's Melbourne's to lose in a sense last week, but
same,
and it still could be, because I still think their best is much better than the rest of the competition. But obviously, what we've seen is that their worst, any team could beat them on any given day.
Yeah. I mean, it is a tight top 4, top 8 race. And I mean, the 8th, a lot of people have said the top 7 is set. I would tend to agree with them at this stage. Now, the attention goes to 8th place. Richmond, Collingwood are the 2 teams most likely to be vying for that position towards the back end of the season. Who do you think gets the chocolates in that, and who do you think goes to the elimination final in September?
Look, I think Richmond and Collingwood have been playing pretty good football, but my thing with Collingwood is that once they're one way of, they have one style of attacking, And I think once that falls down, they have no plan B. Whereas Richmond, I think, have a lot more options going forward. I think their system is just more set, and that's just based off the last 5 years of winning premierships, a winning culture. I think Collingwood will definitely push, and my gut feeling is that Carlton Collingwood will be a Carlton wanting a top 4 spot and a Collingwood wanting a 8th spot is my gut feeling. It would be interesting if they played each other for the second time this year, but they don't. So
Yes, that's right.
I think Richmond will just play a more consistent style that will get them 8th.
Yeah.
However, Collingwood win the games. Like they turn up for big occasions is what we've seen. So I could also see Collingwood will take the opportunity if they get it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I do think Richmond are more reliable, purely off experience, and that's obviously no knock to Collingwood. They can't change that. But if my way of putting this is that if everything goes right for both teams, I think Collingwood get there. But I think Richmond are a team that are more likely to overcome adversity through injuries or through form slumps or whatever it is. If there's adversity for both teams, Richmond are more likely to overcome that. Again, once again, purely off that 5-year stretch where they were in the top 8, playing really well, right? So I do think Richmond will get there, but the notion of having a Carlton Collingwood elimination final, 5th versus 8th, in front of 90k at the G, or even 100k at the G, is something I don't want to experience, because although the elation of a potential win in that game would be better than anything I've ever experienced, if we lose that, I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, look, I'm under the impression that if we make a final in Melbourne, we'll win it. Collingwood is the one exception, and not that I think we'd lose, and Richmond,
Richmond as well. Yeah.
But I just think those two. I don't get like Richmond or Collingwood finishing 8th doesn't make a difference to me. They're in finals, doesn't matter. Ladder position is out the window. That's why I'm not. Yeah, look, I've got the 2 fixtures for these 2 teams up. Richmond from this week onwards, Carlton. So that if you were a Collingwood supporter, you were cheering for the Blues the whole way home. Geelong at the MCG, but it's Geelong's home game, so that's probably an advantage to Richmond.
Yeah.
West Coast at home. They travel to Metricon, North Melbourne, Freo, Brisbane, Adelaide away, and then Hawthorn Essendon. So they only have to travel twice for the end of the season. And we look at Collingwood. They got the bye. They got the.
Yeah, finish.
No, I was just saying Collingwood. They got Giants, Gold Coast in Metricon. North, they go to Adelaide, so that's 2 road trip, 2 interstate. Essendon, Port Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, so another one, that's 3, and then Carlton Collingwood to finish.
I mean, both sides travel up to Metricon, and I feel like if there's going to be an upset, that's going to be the game.
Yeah.
Because Gold Coast at home are a team that will cause danger for any side of the comp. It's really tricky. It is tough. I feel like Richmond's run home, you'd back Richmond against any side more than you'd back Collingwood against any side.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's Richmond Melbourne versus, I was going to say Collingwood Melbourne, but Collingwood won. Say Freo or say the Lions, probably the 2 most informed teams in the comp. On a logic dictates that you'd back Richmond in that game more than you'd back Collingwood. However, Collingwood do rise for those occasions. Obviously, Anzac Day, Queen's birthday today, Carlton Collingwood a couple of weeks ago. However, so you have those factors. And also, I do think there's a lot more at risk for Richmond in terms of slightly aging list, slightly older list profile. This could be their one last chance at a proper premiership tilt, because I'm of the belief that if they finish 8th, they're still probably the 3rd favourite for the flag. Just because Richmond in finals, Dusty in finals, it's a different beast. So I do think there's going to be more pressure on Richmond, whereas if Collingwood don't make it, it's not the end of the world. Still got a young list, young coach, still immature game plan at times. So, with all that said, I'll back Richmond, but I don't want to verse either in September. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Richmond's last three are much more winnable than Collingwood. They've got Port, Hawthorn, Essendon
Yeah,
compared to Collingwood, who have Melbourne, Sydney, Carlton.
yeah.
That's why I
It could,
think
it could come down to that.
it really could. But this is the thing: if Carlton lose this week, they could be right in that talk. That's why I don't like
Yeah,
talking about it, because we say Richmond and Collingwood, but Sydney lose next week, and they're in that conversation, and Geelong
yeah,
lose, they're in that, etc. So at this point in time, it looks like Richmond and Collingwood at least.
yeah. And then you obviously have the Dogs and Port and these outsiders, which unless something drastic happens, and I mean, if it's going to happen in any season, I feel like it could be this one.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'll be in there towards the back ends. I feel like they'll push, but towards the latter stages they'll fall off. But yeah, like you said, I hesitate to say. I think the top seven is set. I hope. I just feel like it will be positional who finishes where inside the top seven. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to speak because I'm of the belief that if I speak, the opposite's going to happen. So let's move on. And because talking about Collingwood and Richmond with Carlton ramifications isn't good for the mentality, I think. Let's move on, and let's move on to a slightly odd talking point, or talking point that I found in the media quite confusing, and it was Jason Horne-Francis in particular. But I feel like this stretches to a wider issue now. News broke before we filmed that Jason Horne-Francis has been given 2 weeks for the hit on Josh Kelly. Did you say it?
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
Would you 2 weeks fair enough? Would you say?
Yeah, I get why it classified into that 2 week period. I'd look. I would have been, if I saw 1 week, I would have been okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, but two is, I'm not like it's nothing to say either. Like, it's fair enough.
yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah, doesn't really matter. Yeah. However, there was a lot of talk about his slightly bratty nature. I feel like that's probably a good word to describe it. Talking back to, or maybe not talking about, but having an argument with Todd Goldstein, it looked like, and then obviously the media have been very critical of him. Is this a media issue or a Jason Horne-Francis issue? Do you think?
I look. I think I'm more towards media. It can be both, and I mean, I listened to the front bar on Thursday, and Simon Madden was on there, and I think they quickly just talked about. They showed a clip of Darcy Parish and still other Essendon players from the Port Adelaide game, and Simon Madden, he responded, he's like, "That happens all the time. Like,
Yeah,
it's literally you're doing this bad, fix it," and they move on. So
yeah,
you can't hear what they're saying on the broadcast. It simply just looks bad, and it is. It's going to be put into a narrative. However, I don't know. Horne-Francis as a person, he does seem to have a bit of an entitled attitude. That
yeah.
So that's why I think it can be both. That issue of players talking and media making it bad is definitely a problem, though.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I feel like it's both sides are slightly complicit. Maybe not in that certain scenario, but I feel like the hit off the ball to Josh Kelly, which he got suspended for, the hit off the ball to Matt Kennedy in the Carlton game, and obviously the Jack Silvani incident. He is cultivating a prickish attitude. I feel like that's maybe a good word to describe it, or a bratty attitude. However, I do think the media taking pot shots and isolating him isn't helping. He's 18 years old. He's come from a system which has been he's the best pretty much, and he's come from like a younger side, or like a younger profile in his life, which has been very good for him in terms of results and in terms of his performance. He's come into the worst team we've seen in a long time. They've won once. He's not really getting a whole bunch of it. He isn't playing to the heights which he was playing to last year, which should be expected because it's a different level. But I feel like both sides just need to calm down in terms of the media, and North and Horn Francis just need to calm down and put things into the wider perspective. Just let him mature into the game, and then everything would settle down. You'd hope, anyway.
Well, he's had high expectations, and you look at the past three number ones: Sam Walsh, Matt Rao, Jamara Ugle-Hagan. I guess they pretty much came into an AFL system and just did their thing. And I think that they took their opportunity and they just accepted it. And I think that's done them for the better. And I think that's now what we expect from all number one picks, that they just turn up to a club and they just fit in. And I guess coming from Adelaide is, we can't talk because we've never moved to another state. And so it's a bit hard to talk on how hard that can be, but I can assume it can be frustrating. What sparks in my mind is the picture of him sleeping in a North Melbourne jersey on draft night, which makes me think, was that all just for publicity, or
I mean, I don't know. It can't do much bad, kind of.
No, it was just weird. I look back and I think, was he being genuine? Like, was it, it's North, so let's just make it seem like I really want to be at North.
Yeah.
And now we look at it now and I don't know, I just think he's never really wanted to be there. Do you think he'll request a trade come season's end?
Come this season's end, it'd be a bombshell, wouldn't it? If you were to ask me this 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said no chance. If you were to ask me this now, with the developments that have been had in terms of his profile as a North Melbourne player, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Put it that way, because we can only relate to the number one picks we've had, and in our lifetime it's been Jacob Wiedering and Sam Walsh. And Sam Walsh came in, hit the ground running, and hasn't looked back since. Jacob Wiedering came in, had a good start, and then sort of faded out of the team before coming in and then being an elite centre half back, right? So we've had 2 number one picks that have kind of come in, fitted well, and then just kind of kicked on, and just not without a lot of fanfare. Whereas you look at other number one picks, like Jamara hasn't had the best time of it, like Horn Francis, and then you look at Paddy McCartan. Obviously, there was extenuating circumstances with him, which is completely out of his control. I feel like it's hard for us to relate in terms of our number one pick because they've been so seamless. But for North fans, it would be hard to see the hope, because when we drafted Sam Walsh, he was the hope. Jason Horn Francis is their hope. To see that go away, it would be hard for them. But I wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
It's different for our situation, I guess, because Walsh came in, but he already had a Cripps around him, which you knew that both of them were already going to be really terrific together. Whereas I guess North, they don't have like a second talent, I guess.
They're still developing. Whereas we had Cripps coming off a good season in 2017 and then playing very good footy in 2019 or 2018 and 2019. Or no, it would have been 2019. We had Cripps finishing 3rd in the Brown or whatever it was in 2019. So he had that support next to him. Whereas Horn Francis has come into a midfield which has Jai Simpkin, Davis Uniacke, and these other players who are still developing themselves. So he doesn't really have that lean-on type character there. I mean, maybe when Ben Cunnington comes back, I don't know the timeline on his return. And obviously with what's happened with him, that there's no rush. But yeah, maybe he's a victim of his own circumstance.
It's really interesting. And if I was North, I would want to keep him because I think this next draft group has some very good players that can come in and sort of connect with Horn Francis. And I'm assuming they're going to finish. I think they'll finish last. I think West Coast will win. I don't know. I think West Coast will win one or two. That will just put them 17th. I think a George Wardlaw type, which you'll hear these names close to the draft, like they are beast midfielders and would like connect them with JHF. And I think North they'll improve drastically.
Yeah.
But you lose him, and it's like, is there going to be a continuing identity problem with the club?
Yeah. If you were North, you request a trade. Let's just assume Adelaide because that's been the club. If he's going to go to anyone, I doubt he'll go to Port. I don't feel like he's in demand over there. What do you want for, if you're North for Jason Horne-Francis?
Uh,
Let's just say Adelaide.
it's
Let's just say Adelaide have pick 5 in the draft, 4 around about that mark.
it's really interesting, isn't it? Because Adelaide wouldn't want to give up pick 5. Then I mean, I guess you're guaranteed a gun that's going to come over. So I guess you can say, okay, well, that pick 5 is just Horne-Francis. But
Yeah,
let's assume they are willing to give up pick 5. You give him pick 5. Plus, I think he's only really worth, after 1 year, just an extra additional role player. I don't know who that could be, but
yeah,
realistically, I don't think he's. It's hard to justify, 2 or 3 players plus a pick for a guy that's played 20 games.
yeah, and especially when the pick is so close to each other, like we've seen over the past couple of years, pick 1 and pick 5 aren't really that different. I mean, we've seen guns come from pick 3, 4, 5 that are better than pick 1. So it is really just I think when it's that minuscule of like pick 1 to pick 5, it's about the development of the club that turns them into better players rather than their talent because they're all talented. It's just that
Yeah.
like Carlton needed a midfielder at the time they drafted Sam Walsh. On a different world, we draft Jack Lukosius instead. Different world, we draft Isaac Rankin, right? It just happened to be that we needed a midfielder because the talent difference is so tiny. But yeah, it will be definitely interesting. Would it be the first number 1 pick to leave that early? It would have to be, right?
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was going to be, and that would
Huge.
hurt North badly because they've been stiffed over in the trade/draft/free agency window for a long time. So losing their prodigal son won't help at all.
Spot on.
Yeah, and I mean we've got down here on the run sheet. Are North Melbourne the worst team in the 18-team era? I mean that's probably a hyperbolic statement, but it goes back to the real point of they're struggling badly, aren't they? They're not. To put it bluntly, they're not a good football side.
Well, we've been in this exact position like our whole lives in a sense, at
Yeah,
least the last 5-6 years, and you continually think this is just like a hole you can never dig yourself out of. But it's just time, and unfortunately,
yeah,
that's the only thing that can save North Melbourne because there's nothing you can do right now. It's just
yeah,
making the right moves, the right decisions, keeping culture like high, even when it's really not great. You still got to just have something to look forward to, and I think it will take a long time. But I have
yeah.
no sympathy because we did it for so long.
Yeah, we've been in this position, so go cry to like the Geelong fans because they haven't experienced this in how long. But yeah, I feel like this is our version of 2018, or this is their
Pretty
version
much.
of our 2018, where you just suck and you like there is no. Like you said, there's seemingly no hope, but they've got some talented players in there. It's going to take time. They just need to make sure that they keep something together. Like when we were bad, we kept Wiedering, we kept Cripps, we kept Mackay Kerno, we kept these guys together, believing in something. And then we're seeing the product of that a couple of years later. They need to keep that core. I think Stevenson's going to play a big role in their development because he knows what it's like to be playing in grand finals and playing in finals and playing in a team that's high up the ladder. So he knows the standard required. And then you have like we said, David Gignac, Simpkin, Taron Thomas, these guys, Zerha, Larky, like these guys have talent. They just need something and someone to click it all together.
Do they win one more game during the rest of the season? And I'm looking, the only games on sort of like possibilities, Hawthorn, Essendon, Adelaide.
They've got Essendon this week, don't they? did
No,
they? No,
that's
West Coast.
no,
I
that's
know.
a
Sorry.
cut. They've got. Oh no, they've got Adelaide twice before the end of the season.
Right. Okay. Um, I feel like I mean I might just say Essendon just because it'll be funny to see it.
It would be
But
funny. It'd be very
yeah,
funny.
yeah. They've got to win at least one more, right? Surely. I
It's what
mean,
you'd think.
has there been a team that has only won one game that's not Fitzroy or an expansion team?
I don't
Surely
even
not.
think GWS or Gold Coast.
Nah, they did.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure they.
GWS won one in one season. I think
Oh, okay.
2013, their first season, they only won one
The
game.
first year.
But
Ah,
yeah, surely, right? Surely both them and West
surely.
Coast win at least one more.
That's what I'm thinking. But
Because you will
never
come, it will
know.
come to like around 20. They'll verse Adelaide or Hawthorn, who
Yeah,
won't have anything to play for.
that's what I'm thinking. Possibly.
Although seeing two clubs finishing on one game or one win would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Would be something.
Would be something. Now let's move on to the rest moment of the rounds. I mean, there only really one moment or one occasion, and it is. I mean, we see Eddie Betts above me as Black Panther. It was the Big Freeze game at the MCG, the Queen's Birthday Clash for Fight MND. It's one of it's potentially even overtaking the staples of the Anzac Day Eve footy traditions. It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
It's like it surprises me each year, like how big it is. Like you
Yeah,
sort of it happens and then you forget about it, and then it comes back and you're like, wow,
yeah,
like it just. And I think it's interesting hearing the stats to it. Like how
yeah,
many people it affects and all that. And I think it gives it more in a sense, and and then I'm sure it is emotionally attached to a lot of people, and I think that's why it's important. I think it's probably more important that the talk continues throughout the year
yeah,
in a sense.
yeah,
I think like if there's only one negative, is that it's just sort of stapled to one game. I think
yeah. I
I wouldn't
understand that.
honestly something like that. I would not be like opposed to putting it on grand final day
Yeah, I mean, what a stage, right? If there's a
because I don't
stage,
know. That's
I
it.
mean, scrap the entertainment pre-game. It could clash with the whole pomp and pageantry that the AFL would demand from grand final day. But yeah, the more eyes on the occasion, and then in turn, the more eyes on the cause and helping fight it is yeah, it wouldn't be the worst idea. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but yeah, I feel like Neil Danaher has. It's been really sad to see the disease really punch him in the gut. If you, we're saying he can't really speak, it hasn't quite. I mean, if you look at the last couple of years, it's fascinating to see the effect it actually has. Just go back and look at the first big phrase at the G, and then look back throughout the years. It's quite heartbreaking, but he's still fighting, he's still battling for everyone else. And can I just say the fact that he has not had an Australian of the Year award to his name, or at least two or three, or every single one of them, is a disgrace. But he's an as close to I mean, he's an Australian hero. He's an icon of this country, no doubt.
Well, what he puts people over himself. I mean, he's someone who he knows he's not going to live for very much longer, and he's impacting people's futures in the present. And it's just
Yeah,
like that's you'll look back at this in 10, 20 years, and you'll be like that was it. This was
yeah,
the moment, or else we'd still be stuck in this same scenario
yeah,
of not having a cure, etc. So it's amazing. I think they raised and they got to
yeah,
the 2 mil mark, but
yeah.
I
I know, yeah,
know
the
there
up there
was 4 mil donated by the Vic government, I
government.
think.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean around six, I'd say six,
plus
7 mil. That is just like huge.
phenomenal.
Goes a
Yeah,
long way.
massive. It does, and hopefully we can find the cure for the beast sooner rather than later, because we don't, like you said, in 20 years time, we don't want to be looking back. We want to be looking back at this and thinking this was the moment where it all changed. This was the or I don't know how long is it, the eighth edition of the Big Freeze,
I know
seventh, eighth.
2015 was the first year, I think. So however many, I
Yeah,
think it's
so
eighth year.
Yeah, so we want to be seeing this as the moment where it's all changed. But yeah, he's Australian icon. Good to see all the people going down the slide. What was your favorite costume?
Favorite costume. Look, Eddie, you just love Eddie.
Yeah,
I like Dash Barty because it's just Dash Barty. You can't go
yeah,
past her.
yeah.
And
I love JL's Rocky. That was good.
yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah,
That
that
was
was
good.
it's just a crazy thing. Like
Yeah,
you just think about it. There's like 8 people sliding down to an ice bath with costumes on.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah,
just so good.
it's unreal. I've never seen the footy. The footy world never gets more united than today. It's great.
It is.
Even on any other day, this is the day which restores faith in humanity for some people. It's good. It's good to see. But thank you very much. I think that's it for this episode. Unless there's anything else, any other tidbits.
No, until next week, really.
Until next week. So thank you guys very much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.